I'm going to start with that central rose, which is a beautiful color. And I'm going to be using permanent rose in which to paint it. Right, so this is freehand. I find I get on better if I don't draw the flowers first. Maybe because I'm not very good at drawing flowers, but also I think it makes for a livelier painting. So we'll start with permanent rose. Where's the permanent rose? One is permanent rose. That one, I think. Right, so I'm sorry, I'll put it in the middle so you can see. I'm mixing some permanent rose. I'm going to add a bit more water to that. And then again, work the paint to get the gum arabic moving. And then, right. So again, I'm going to section it off again. If the vase is that high, then the flower is there, and that gives me that much so the picture will still actually stay on the page, which is always useful. First thing to do is to just make the shape. Don't try to start to put the petals in at this stage. You're just trying to make the shape. It's sort of circular, but it's got little straight edges on it. And comes down here. And there, like that, right. Now, if I take some permanent rose straight from the box, rather than going into this liquidy bit, and work it a bit, I can go in with no extra water, just a bit more paint on the surface, and start to see if I can start to delineate some of the petals. We're having an exciting time. It's been a bit too dry in places. Where I want to lift the paint, if I can. That's the other technique. And remember, if you're lifting, you're taking paint off, so it'll come on the brush. So if you don't take it off the brush, you're just going to put it down somewhere else on the... Do as you're told, Steve. Too dry there, I think. This got far too excited here. Out to be a disaster. Doesn't matter because there's so many other flowers, nobody notices. You're in effect sculpting the flower. With the light and shade. Those of you who do a lot of flower arrangement will see far more in these wretched flowers than I will. So do your own thing, as far as that's concerned. Right, okay, I think that'll do for the time being. Now, there is underneath it, oh, it's practically water. So that's what I'll do. Underneath, there's it's either a flower or it's a petal dropped off this, and I think it's a flower. There. I'm just going to touch of I'm not too worried about the edge of this bit because it's going to be sculpted, if you like, by the greenery. We come to it. These very delicate flowers here. So instead of putting the color on and then taking it off, as I did with the rose, putting the color on and then just taking it down, create the petal so that it gets paler. Is far too. Really got carried away. When you're working like this, you're not going to get a crisp edge, but that can be adjusted. All can be adjusted. Just a tiny touch of pink here. Right. And then we've got the one underneath it, which is, again, slightly to the, just slightly over here. So we have this. I'm just trying to put where the pink edge is. I think I'm already eating into the pot. This is this one is here. Right. Let's see if I can tice it down now. Quite delicate. So I've got a bit. I don't know if you can see me, what I'm doing or not. I hope you can. That's more or less in the right place. This one got a bit adventurous, so we'll pull that back. Take that back. Right, okay. Right, having got that far, I think I'll put in a bit of the greenery. Now, green. Well, when in doubt, go for your favorite green. So I'm using Viridian. Sorry. I'm using Viridian, which is a shrieker. But I'm taming it, as I usually do, with a bit of burnt sienna. You see the colour getting less shrieky. There we are. That's reasonably okay. Now, what can I see? Well, from here, there is a leaf. That's still not the right green, but it's going to have to do for the time being. Then this flower is actually shaped. Is that dry yet? Perhaps I better start higher up. Okay, so what is that? Now, here, there's a sort of trumpet shape, which is the connection of the flower to the stem. And green goes right up to there. Leave a space there. Right, now then. What am I doing? I've got lost again. As you do. Right, so this goes up here. I think I'll put a bit more brown in that. This goes up here. And in fact, shapes this leaf here. So I don't want to leave a hard edge there. Oh dear. So I'm going to just smooth that edge off with a dry brush so I don't leave a hard edge, because I might not want a hard edge there when I guess get up to it. So just by fading it off a bit, it makes it just a little bit less hard. And we'll see what happens when we get there. Right, over the other side, still wet. Okay, so if we then follow there are stems coming here, coming up here, and there are a couple here. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just building up the right. That seems to have another one coming out. I don't know what's happening there. It goes into a flower somewhere. Right, so they're coming okay. There's a bit of green and put a bit of yellow in it this time. So I just took a bit of yellow paint. This is a slightly different leaf color here. Now I go back to my original green to put in these stems here. Ah, come on, you can do better than that. It's better. There's a real dark there, which starts to add a bit of drama to the thing, and that's the top of the pot, so that's nice. And there's another bit there. There's a pale stem in the way, so I'm leaving the space to put in the pale stem. Right. And then that stem comes across here, so there's a sort of triangle there. And then round about there, going off this way, we've got a couple of stems, and then they come down like that. Right, so we've more or less got the pot where it's sat. That's working nicely. I don't like that color. Let's change it and make that more of a leaf. Right. Now halfway up here, there's more leaves. There's one there. You just look at the shape. Don't say that's a leaf. Just look at the shape and see what you can do with it. And then from there, there's one that comes, that's definitely showing as a leaf. And there's a bit coming down here. If I put in a bit of dark there, that sort of pushes the other leaf up so that it's proud of where it is. And that one also goes back darker. So all I'm doing is using the brown. I get a point to use the brown on the top. Again, to organize the shape so that the other leaf comes out on top. These have some flat shapes coming. Right. I can go back to the flowers now and start to play a bit with the shadows. I think I'll use, oh dear, I think I'll use ultramarine for the blue. There are some blue flowers there. I don't know if I'll get to them, but there are some blue flowers there. And I want a blue for the shadows on these flowers here. So this one here is in shadow. That shadow on that petal defines the shape of the one above it. That's a bit definite. So if I put a bit of permanent rose in that shadow, because it's wet, tease it out a bit. Right, that's rather good. The this petal folds back on itself. So it goes dark here. But I don't want that as a line. So I soften it. On the edge that I want softened. That actually needs etching in with the green when it's dry. I'm going to use a bit of green in the center of that flower. So I'll use my ultramarine, Viridian. I'm going to put a bit of yellow in it. Yellow ochre. How are we doing for time, Rachel? Right, okay. Right. Now, I don't want a lot. I'm going to take some of the water out the brush. Just put the very faintest touch in the center there of the green. A bit more than that, Steve. Come on. Losing your nerve, go. Perhaps take that darker, actually. That's better. It sort of all does that there. Touches of green. Yeah. This is dark green in the middle too. There is a darker streak to put in there. Right. Now, also the permanent rose. Why don't you use a thinner brush, Steve? If I take some of the permanent rose, these petals have got a streak down the center there. I don't want that to be a hard edge, so I go over the edge with a damp brush to allow that bit to spread. This leaf here has more of a blush on the edge here. That one is in shadow. So I need some of my blue, purpley blue, on that leaf to knock it back a bit, give it the shadow that it needs. There we are. That's a bit in shadow too. Now, if I take the green and create the shape around here, where are we? That one gets cut into there, like that. One comes through there, like that. Right. Now there's a space. Because that's probably a stem, and there's another space. And then we are into the thicker stuff over there. Well, I've got this little brush. I can strengthen this bit here, probably with a touch of blue. Very quiet thing to do, painting flowers. You don't get up and walk around, you know, it makes life a little bit easier. Right. Okay, thank you. The agony isn't over yet. Right. do some more dark green now. I want it really dark on this side. So I'm mixing paint. I think to get it really dark, I'm going to add a bit of blue to that. That's happening now. That's good. So right now over here, quite a lot of dark shapes. And it's quite difficult to see what they're doing. But if you try to put them in as gestures rather than as trying to draw the shape, it'll probably work better for you. If you're really looking for darks, you can always go back and put them in afterwards. When I bought this bouquet, the thing that really attracted me were these things that just hang down with little shapes on the edges of them. I actually need quite a light green for that. So just a shape. Not a thing I do very often, paint flowers. Let's try to do it more. Makes for a tranquil day, you know? Right. Okay, so where would I go next? I still would leave the pot alone, I think. If I explore these now that are going out in this direction, I've got the dark leaves there, but I've got a light color on there. So I'm looking at those lilies. I think they're lilies. Are they gladioli? Right, okay. I'll take your word for it. Yes. Whatever it is, it's not the same color as the rose by any manner of means. So I'm going to mix the permanent rose with some alizarin crimson for that. To get, now I've got to get there first. Right. Oh, come on. Which brush have I got? Okay, so I'm going to see what I can do to arrive at that place. I've started with those stems there. And then I put some streaks in here to suggest that that's where they were, but they're much darker than that. They're even darker than that, actually. So I'll darken them off again. That one, that one. This is where you need to draw because that flower, this set of flowers starts on a level with that flower. So the first one is here. I can't really see what they are doing. That seems to say what I wanted to say. And then I've got a weird shape. Oh, that one goes up a bit. Oh, well, fine. It's got to be more pointed. So I'm trying to use the brush to create the shape. I can put the shadowing in afterwards. I'm not worried about that. Just want the shape. And then there's that one there. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? That's a lovely shape. And that one sort of goes around there, like that. That really haven't got. Use a rag. Right. Because it's got a lovely bit of light there. So I would like to keep right on the greens underneath it. Now, while we've got it, it's still slightly wet. So what can I do here? I can put that in. Seems to come all the way down there. It's dark there. Get a bit of blue on it. Oof.